So we've got a lot to say about our septorhinoplasty experience, and we thought the best format to do this in was a story time video. Hey guys, we're Em and Law, and if you're new to our channel, we do a mixture of vlogs, story times and challenge videos. And today's video, like Law said, is going to be a story time about our surgery, because we got nose jobs in Turkey and we have a lot to share about our experience. So at this point in time, we're just over 3 weeks post-op. As you can imagine, the swelling hasn't gone down yet. It's a long process to heal from a nose job, especially a septorhinoplasty, which is what we had.
Yeah.
So
because didn't you read that when you get your septum operated on, that's when it has the most effect on
this
part of your...
I think the muscles caught, or it's affected in some way. So when you're talking or smiling or trying to move your mouth how you normally will,
the top lip is
very stiff.
Yeah,
there's
not
just
got a lot of movement. It's getting better, isn't it though? The first few weeks, the first week especially, when I was smiling with my teeth, my smile was like this.
Yeah.
My top lip was just not there at all.
So that's something that's quite common after rhinoplasty. And then also just the swelling. For the first few weeks with me, I literally looked like a pig. I had a line up here because my tip was just so bulbous and my bridge was quite slim. So there was a real contrast between the two. And yeah, you just don't look normal for a while basically. The first 3 months apparently is when your swelling goes down the most. So you see the most dramatic change. But it can take up to a year to see the final results.
So first of all, let's start by quickly going over some of the details that you guys might want to know. Our surgeon's name is Dr. Anesthesia.
And we found him on Instagram. So he's not actually one of the big popular surgeons in Turkey. If you're on any of the rhinoplasty Facebook groups, or even if you've just watched a lot of the rhinoplasty vlogs on YouTube, then you'll know that there's a few surgeons that are really big names in Turkey, and a lot of people pay thousands of pounds to go to them. Yeah, but we just wanted a surgeon who we could trust for starters. So we were looking for an ENT because we didn't want someone to mess up the anatomy of a nose and to mess up a breathing, and we wanted somebody who did the kind of nose we were looking for. And we weren't fussed about the number of Instagram followers or
how many celebrities or influencers noses that he'd done.
Yeah, so for us the main focus was on finding someone that we could trust who did the type of noses that we wanted. And that's how we kind of came across our doctor. I think when you follow one surgeon on Instagram, you kind of go down a rabbit hole and you get loads recommended to you, and he was just somebody that popped up. So he's not super popular. He mostly just works on Turkish patients at the minute, but because of that his price was really reasonable. And yeah, we got in touch with the assistant, and then from that we booked the rhinoplasty, we paid the deposit, and we were ready to go.
In terms of quickly how we actually decided that we were going to have surgery in the first place, we are identical twins, and I think a lot of people would assume that we kind of made this joint decision, and from the very start we said, we were always going to get a nose job together. But that actually wasn't the case. So I don't think I mentioned anything to you until November last year, and I reached out to you and said, I'm actually really considering getting a nose job now. Obviously we had been discussing it in the past, but no one had really...
Just comments here and there, one day when we get a nose job. But I don't think we were ever that serious about it at that point.
No, and I was thinking about going to a surgeon in the UK. So I was basically asking you, will you come with me? Will you look after me? And I had an appointment with a surgeon in the UK and everything, but...
Yeah, because this is something as well, is that we didn't consider Turkish surgeons at first. I mean, the stigma in the press says it all, and it does get in your head a little bit, and we were considering the UK because we felt more safe and comfortable here.
Yeah.
But then when you join these rhinoplasty groups and you talk to other people that have had surgery, you actually realise that a lot of UK surgeons, because they do it all, they don't just tend to specialise in the nose, they'll do it all. So because of that, they don't actually have as much experience with doing noses, and a lot of people that were unsatisfied with the noses on that group were people that had it done with UK surgeons.
Yeah.
And so we quite quickly learnt that Turkish surgeons are some of the best in the world for doing those jobs.
So the surgeon that I had actually got a consultation with mostly did boob jobs, but I liked his noses, and I think his price was about 6,000,
which isn't too bad for a UK surgeon.
Yeah, it's not too bad. If you go to Harley Street,
then it gets really expensive. But what you were saying about horror stories of like Turkish surgeons and stuff, I think just be careful what you read in the press, because I read a few stories about random clinics in the middle of nowhere in Turkey where nothing was quite legit, whereas like where we went was an actual hospital, like it had an A&E department and everything, like it was predominantly for medical purposes and it existed.
I think it just comes down to like doing your research. Like we did a lot of research into our surgeon, like we looked on his website, we saw what certificates he had, and we researched the hospital that we were told we were going to be going to, and we did a lot of research about the area as well. Like the more research you do, the more comfortable you're going to feel if you are going to Turkey. One thing that people say as well is to avoid going with a clinic and to choose a specific surgeon instead, because if you go with a clinic you tend to just get given a surgeon and you don't know anything about them, and they might not even do the type of nose that you want.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say about when I messaged you as well, because it turned out that you were actually on the waiting list for a surgeon through one of the clinics. This was something that you'd booked like before COVID.
Yeah, so I booked with Clinic Centre. I mean, they're quite well spoken about in the media, like a lot of influencers have gone with them. But unfortunately, what I didn't like about Clinic Centre is that I was given a surgeon and I knew nothing about him, and they sent me some before and after pictures. And for me, the nose style was just too natural. As you can see, what we wanted was the curve and, you know, to look small and cute. And when I asked for a different surgeon, they quoted me, I think the price was like an extra £2,000 or £3,000.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was really sneaky, and after that I was just like, I'm not really interested in going with them. So yeah, we're 3 weeks post-op now, but we'll take you back to 4 weeks ago, which is kind of where it all began. That was the week of surgery, and we'll just kind of go from there.
Yeah, so we flew to Turkey on Wednesday, didn't we? And we had our operation scheduled for Friday, and then the week after, on Friday, we flew home. So that gives you an idea of the time frame that you have to be in Turkey for. Like for us, I think it was 9 days. So we flew there on Wednesday, and then Thursday we had our pre-op with the doctor.
Yeah.
And we had blood tests. I think, is it just checking that you're healthy?
Yeah,
and,
like they check for infection in your body. Never in the UK have I been offered a pre-op blood test. So they actually like really take care of you in Turkey. They want to make sure that you're not ill, which for us, we were actually a little bit stressed about that, weren't we? I mean, because we had rhinoplasties in the winter, it comes with a lot of perks because your downtime is in the winter months, and you don't have to worry about like going out and like social events and stuff like that,
and the extra swelling as well that comes from the heat.
Yeah, but the one issue with having surgery in the winter is that you're like dodging and avoiding colds left, right and centre, and you'd gone away the week before, hadn't you?
Yeah. It was so typical, like whenever I catch a flight, I know that I'm going to get a cold. I can try my best to stay away, but you can't do anything when you're on a plane. And this was something that was booked in advance, so I couldn't cancel or reschedule it. So I got ill.
On the Sunday, you messaged me saying that you weren't well.
Yeah.
And the surgery was for the following Friday.
So I thought, I've got to get over this cold as fast as possible. And luckily it was only a mild cold. By the time that we were flying to Turkey, I still had a bit of a chesty cough. And I thought, I hope this isn't going to affect anything. Like obviously if this happens to you, because it could happen to you, you do have to tell the surgeon and make sure the surgeon's aware, just for safety reasons. But
we did say like health is the most important thing. Like obviously it wouldn't be ideal at all if we had to reschedule, because we'd flown out there for that specific reason of getting surgery. But you don't want to go into surgery when you're not very well, and coming out of like recovery from our nose job, the last thing we would have wanted was a cold. Like it would have made things so much more difficult. I mean, as it turned out, you were on the back end of your cold. I was just dosing up on vitamin C, like trying my best. I mean, we isolated from each other for the first few days. So
you can see that on the vlog, like we're both standing apart from each other.
Yeah, because we've vlogged the whole experience. We'll link that below.
It was like COVID times all over again.
We were isolated from each other. We had the COVID mask, like you said, and I was just so determined to like not catch your cold.
But you kept having a niggling sore throat that kept coming and going.
Throat, and I was so worried it was going to go into something more, because my partner Milo hadn't been very well as well before the surgery, and it just felt like
everybody was ill.
Yeah.
It was honestly like the worst time for doing it, but we managed to do it. Like, we had the blood test, everything was fine. You told the surgeon that you were like coming off the back of a cold, and he was like completely fine with it.
Yeah.
We'd never seen anyone else vlog a rhinoplasty with a cold, or any kind of plastic surgery with a cold, so we honestly like didn't know whether it's going to go ahead or not. But if you are like currently waiting for surgery and you're not feeling too great, have peace of mind that it probably will still go ahead, as long as you like speak to your surgeon and like everybody's aware of it.
Yeah, I think we worried ourselves, didn't we, like searching on Google, because there's a lot of things on Google where people are saying just reschedule it, it's not worth the risk and all of this. But for us it was fine, so just
completely fine.
go with what your surgeon advises.
So we made it to surgery day and we were both feeling okay, and it was so nice to not have to isolate from each other anymore. And honestly, we didn't have that much nerves, did we? I think we just wanted to get it done. We'd been talking about it and thinking about it for so long. When the day finally came, it was just kind of like, right, let's get the hard part over with, because I mean the most difficult part is that first week after surgery.
Yeah.
And we were just super keen to like get it done and see the results.
Yeah, like I know some people are super nervous about actually going under, but me and you kind of just put the trust in the doctors, don't we? Like,
yeah,
it's never been something that's really freaked me out before. Like, you do just have to have the trust that these people are professionals and it's going to be okay.
Yeah, and I think what really provided us with some comfort was seeing the surgeon on the morning of the surgery. He came in to see us in the hospital room and we did the payment. From that moment, it was all pretty quick. Like, I went first and the nurses came in and they put the cannula in and you get changed into your hospital gown, and that's how you know that it's going to be happening soon.
And then you got wheeled away out of the room.
I was wheeled away, and you were left there by yourself.
Yeah,
went down to the operating room, and I also had an upper bleph as well, so I had upper eyelid surgery. The surgeon was down there. He said his assistant was going to draw markings for the upper bleph, and then I lay down and that was the last thing I remember, is when they were like messing with my cannula, and I was like, I guess I'm like falling asleep now.
Yeah, it's not a scary thing. Like, if you're a little bit concerned about what it's like to be in an unfamiliar environment in Turkey in quite a vulnerable situation, we didn't find it scary. Like, it's quite cool in a weird sort of way, like to be down there.
You feel like you're in a movie.
Yeah, like surrounded by surgeons that are all like bustling around, and then we got taken into a separate little private room. I met the surgeon as well, and we just had a quick conversation. He showed me your table picture, which was good motivation, because I was like, good, that's what my nose is going to look like soon. And then that was pretty much it.
Waking up from surgery for us wasn't really what we expected.
It was the worst part.
It was definitely the worst part. Like, we've seen a lot of vlogs and we thought we knew what to expect. Like, we thought we'd feel like a pressure, but honestly, when I woke up, I felt like I'd been freshly punched in the face with no pain meds.
Me too.
It was a lot more painful than I expected, and I don't know if that's just like us with a really low pain tolerance, or whether the surgeon had just, I don't know, the technique that he'd used.
I have a feeling it was the technique, because we experienced some quite unique feelings that just wasn't nice. Like,
we had a lot of bleeding.
Oh, hello. Yeah, we had a lot of bleeding, and we also had this feeling of like crackling all over the nose, which you could hear and you could feel it. Like, it was a bit like when you pour milk on Rice Krispies. Like, it was really unpleasant. And I remember we spoke to somebody on the plane home who'd also had a nose job, and that was one of the things that I asked, like saying, did your nose crackle loads after surgery? And she just kind of looked at me like, no. So I do think it depends on your surgeon as to how you'll feel after, but for us, we had a lot of pain. My nose was really hurting, my teeth were hurting, I had instant swelling here as well, and I felt quite a lot of pressure on my head. We did not react well to the anaesthesia either, did we?
We've heard that the Turkish anaesthesia is like really strong, and we woke up like freezing cold and feeling sick, but they do give you anti-nausea, so the sickness feeling soon went away. But for me, I think the struggle in the first like 24 hours was mostly just like the pain and the bleeding, because it all kind of pulls in the back of your throat, and then you feel like you want to cough it up, so you're constantly like spitting out blood. And
it's not nice, is it?
It's not glamorous, and it's not like the impression that we got from the vlogs with the influencers that are going for cups of coffee and Starbucks.
Yeah.
Like, we just wanted to retreat to like the bed and not do anything.
We were just tragic patients, weren't we? Like, we must have been quite annoying to look after because we were just incapable of doing anything ourselves.
So then the next day following surgery, you stay in overnight, and we didn't really get much sleep. It was only at one point these nurses brought in something called sleepy medicine, and they put it into our cannulas, and that was amazing. Like, I wish we could have had that every night.
Oh yeah, me too.
And we probably got a couple of hours sleep, but then we were up early in the morning and we were ready to just go and get out of there. So as soon as the surgeon's assistant brought us our medication, which is probably about 8:30 in the morning, we were changed and we'd asked to have our cannulas out, and we were ready to go. And the nurses were probably a bit surprised because we were just so willingly leaving so early in the morning, but we just wanted to get back to our own space.
Yeah, and just have the comfort of our own things.
And something that we're so glad we did is we booked ourselves an apartment. So we actually had a hotel booked at first, and then we cancelled it because we just found this like incredible deal for an apartment, and it was really close to a surgeon's office, and it was only like a 20-minute drive or so from the hospital. So we decided to go and stay in the apartment instead, but it did have a desk downstairs and there was room service and stuff like that. So it's kind of like serviced apartments, so it's the best of both worlds.
I would recommend it to
Yeah,
anyone.
me too. Like, for us, because we struggled so much in our recovery, and we also looked crazy as well, which is something we'll get into in a minute. Like, because we struggled so much, we just really wanted our own space to recover in, and it was so nice like having our own like cooking area where we could make food and we didn't have to go and eat in restaurants.
So the first few days of recovery after we came back from hospital were definitely the worst. They were just so difficult, and we just did not expect any of the symptoms that we had, really, did we?
For starters, we just looked so weird, especially me because I'd had my upper left as well. So I had 2 black eyes. I literally looked like I'd been punched in the face. I had like the cast on my nose, 2 black eyes, and they were so swollen that I could barely open my eyes. So I had like little slits for eyes, and I couldn't see a thing as well because I couldn't put my contact lenses in because my eyes could barely open, and then I couldn't put my glasses on because I had the cast on my nose. I was in a situation where I was like healing and trying to like distract myself from the pain and discomfort, but the only thing that I could really do was listen to podcasts.
Yeah, I think the difficulty of our healing as well, aside from the pain, was the fact that we did not take to the antibiotics very well at all, did we?
No.
So we were given, I think it was like a 7-day batch of antibiotics that we needed to take. Some doctors prescribe them and some don't, but our surgeon did. It's more of a preventative thing, so it's just in case you might get an infection. We had all kinds of weird side effects from them, and it was only when you googled the antibiotics that we discovered that all of these side effects we'd been having had actually come from them.
Because we didn't know if they were just linked from the anaesthetics. I know that can make you feel funny for a while, but everything that we were feeling, I mean, with me, like, I had really bad digestive side effects. Like, I had really bad nausea, and I just couldn't like keep anything in me, TMI. Whereas you didn't really have that, but you had like the insomnia.
So I had really bad insomnia. It was to the point where I was going to bed at like 9 o'clock at night, and I didn't actually drift off to sleep till like 3 a.m. And it was incredibly frustrating.
And especially after surgery, like, you expect to be able to just, I mean, we read things about people saying that they just slept like non-stop to try and recover, and that just wasn't really the case for us.
Yeah, like, I wanted to sleep so badly, but it was kind of like my body was going to sleep, my brain wasn't. Like, I've never experienced that before.
It's such a weird feeling. And then we both had like quite bad anxiety as well, so if we ever like felt a bit off, like, I know with me and the nausea, I would then like overthink why I've got the nausea and be like, I hope I've not got an infection. Like, at one point you were convinced that you had an infection, and at one point I was convinced that I'd lost too much blood, and we had to reassure each other because we're going through it together. And if one of you gets anxious or paranoid about something, the last thing you want is for both of you to like spiral down into anxiety, because we were there on our own, and it is a little bit daunting, isn't it? I will say that. I mean, it definitely helped that we had each other. Like, I don't think with the recovery that we had, I don't think we could have done it by ourselves.
No.
I think for most people, if you have an easy recovery, like, sure, it would have been fine.
I would recommend if anyone's going to Turkey, go with somebody else. Don't do it on your own, because you always think that you're going to recover well.
Yeah.
And you're going to breeze through it, but you just never know.
And we were just feeling so self-conscious. So for those first 3 days, for example, if you are staying in a hotel, you might want someone to go out and get you food and like pick you up some bits from the chemist. And something else as well worth mentioning is that not a lot of people in Turkey speak English. So even though it's like a really popular place for medical tourism, it's just not common for people to speak English. Our surgeon spoke a little bit of English, which was quite nice, but for the most part, like, you will be having to use a translation app. So something I would definitely recommend is getting a data package, because we were trying to connect to Wi-Fi wherever we went.
Well, it was a nightmare, because I got an eSIM and then it turned out it wasn't compatible with my phone, so at the last minute we were kind of like, what now?
So I'd recommend just getting a data package, and then you can use your translation app, because it comes in handy everywhere, like taxis, shops. If someone says something to you in Turkish, you have no way of communicating without the app. For the rest of the week, recovery started to get easier and easier, and the swelling started to drop, which was nice for me, because mine kind of just like slimmed out, whereas yours went down to the bottom, didn't it?
It was Alvin and the Chipmunks for me for at least 4 days. But yeah, the recovery by that point, even though we still looked weird, we definitely were feeling better.
Yeah.
So it was really those first 2 days that were the worst, and then after that it did start to feel a bit more like what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
I assumed it would be like when you're hungover and you just kind of like lazing around, like watching TV. Like, we did a lot of that towards the end, didn't we?
Yeah. And the day that my eyes could open wide enough to fit contact lenses in, I was so happy, because I was like, I can finally do things that aren't just like podcasts on my phone. We kind of breezed through to the end of the week, and then it got to Thursday, so that was day 6 of recovery, and that was cast off day. And to be honest, I was hoping to be looking a little bit more normal at that point.
Me too.
But I still had black eyes.
Yeah.
You still had your cheeks a little bit.
And green and yellow bruising.
Yeah,
as
and
well.
we still had a lot of bruising. So it definitely wasn't the vibes of like some cast-offs that we've seen. And I think from that moment, I knew that I wouldn't like my cast-off, because I already didn't feel like I looked like myself in the mirror. So from that moment, I started telling myself, you just need to get through this, be polite, and
just fake it.
Just fake it, yeah, because like, we are British at the end of the day, and this is what we do.
It's like when the hairdresser like cuts your hair and you don't like it, and you just have to smile and go along with it.
Yeah,
and then go home
and cry.
Yeah.
So yeah, we went into cast off like not with high expectations. We were really prepared. We've seen so many vlogs where people say they hated their nose at cast off, and yeah, it's safe to say when the cast came off, like for me especially, I just looked so strange. Like, I'll put a little bit of footage in here, but basically I just felt like the Grinch. Like, my bridge was really slim, because the cast had been like compressing it and protecting it, and the tip was like really big and bulbous. So I felt like a mixture between the Grinch and like some kind of cartoon cat. Like, it was really just alarming to see.
I did feel similarly. Like, we can put footage of me on the screen as well. I don't know whether mine was as bad as yours, but it was definitely weird looking. And I was kind of glad when he put the tapes over the nose after.
Yeah, me too. It was like, cover it up.
Yeah.
But we did both really like our noses from the side.
Yeah.
So that was like, even from the beginning, we took some side pictures, and it was like so exciting to see it, because we're used to having like the big hump on the side and like the nose coming down.
Something that I will mention about getting the cast off is that we had the tampons, the dreaded tampons up the nose. So a part of the process was getting them removed,
which we were so excited about, to be able to breathe.
It was kind of like excited but dreading it at the same time,
like
because
anticipation.
Because I was so like protective of my nose by that point. But it really is over so quickly. So
it's not too painful, to be honest. It's just quite uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But the worst part is when the stitches get cut inside the nose, which again, it's literally over in 2 seconds, but it's such a sharp and stinging pain.
It's a little stingy. But when they pull the tampons out, it's done in seconds.
Yeah, same with the cast removal. That didn't hurt me at all.
I think actually the thing that freaked me out the most was when the surgeon instantly started like touching my nose and stuff, and
like massaging.
It doesn't really hurt it hurts a little bit but not a lot, but it just feels so strange. And I think
Yeah.
because you've had your nose covered by a cast and it's been protected for a week, and then getting it removed and the surgeon suddenly touching it, like that was a bit freaky to me.
So the day after cast off, we flew home, and that flight was completely non-eventful. Like we'd been worried that we were going to feel like some pain or pressure, but it was honestly one of the easiest flights that we'd done.
We were a little bit concerned about whether we might look weird on the flight, but don't worry, like if you're flying from Turkey and you've had surgery, you will see so many
You won't be
people.
alone.
Yeah, in the airport we saw people that had facelifts, we saw a lot of hair transplants, we saw other nose jobs.
So even on our plane going home, there was another girl we met who had her nose done, and there's probably about 4 or 5 men that had hair transplants as well.
Yeah.
So it is just a really common thing. If you're coming back from Istanbul, like people are gonna be having had surgery on the plane. And yeah, for the past 3 weeks we've just been healing. I've not really left the house much.
No. I've left the house, and because I volunteer with Brownies, and obviously they're girls, they're about 10 years old and they are very honest. So I have had a few comments about looking like someone from Whoville. Someone said that I looked like Thing 1 and Thing 2. I've just tried to take it in my stride and just like see the funny side of it, but
Yeah.
I think for you, like, you just feel a little bit nervous, don't you, about going out into the world?
I mean, for me, like the first few weeks, I'll put in some pictures of what my swelling looks like at its worst. But I just felt like I looked really weird, and I felt like it was really obvious that I'd had surgery as well because of the bleft scars. So I just felt a bit too vulnerable to be going out into the world. And like I said, recovery is an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
And you can like try and prepare yourself for it as much as possible, but like when you're actually in it, like you've just got to ride the wave basically.
Yeah.
And every day I feel like my nose is settling more and more, and even in a week like the amount of swelling reduction is crazy. So yeah, we're really excited to see what happens with our noses at the end and see the finished outcome, and we will keep on updating you guys along the way. And yeah, if you like this video, we also did our rhinoplasty vlog, so you can actually go along with us and see everything that happened in real time.
And we've got a Q&A as well, haven't we? We're going to do a Q&A really soon, so if you have got any questions, then let us know in the comments.
But yeah, we hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please consider giving it a like or subscribing to our channel. And like we've been saying on all of our rhinoplasty videos, this was incredibly vulnerable for us to make and share with you guys, and we really debated whether we were going to share the journey or not, but we just thought, why not? Let's just do it.
Why not?
So yeah, we would really just appreciate if the comments were kept nice, and if you don't agree with surgery, that's completely fine, but please just don't share it in the comments. But yeah, we hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Now I realize it was always supposed to be.